A week later, he was gone. And you know what happened? Accidental drowning.
Yeah.
It's not possible. And it's strange. Why aren't we looking into the possibility of this being true? Law enforcement,
don't
why
know.
aren't you looking into the possibility of this being true, but keeping it secret? Like, at least look into it. You know what
Right.
I mean? Without giving the parents hope or
I
anything
think it
like
would
that, but
take
look into it.
Yeah, it would take the FBI at this point. It would have to take or Secret Service or Marshals or any federal agency that it would be willing to look into this. They need to. Like that's what it would take because it spans so many states and so many years and so many victims. Um, they would need somebody like
The
that.
running theory is it's a guy and girl, not running. The theory's out there is that it's a guy and girl couple. The girl reaches out to these guys, asks if they want to ride. The guy's waiting there and they take advantage of them and, abduct them and waterboard them over and over. And I don't know why, or if there even is a reason why. Maybe that's just the demographic because it fits not getting caught easiest. I don't know. There's also a theory out there that it's all women that, and I do feel like this is a little sexist, but because there's no evidence to it. But there's this theory out there that it's a women cult, that have been hurt by men in their past. No evidence to that. So I just feel like that's strange. Is it possible? Sure, anything's possible. But like, just because it's men doesn't mean it has to be women that have been abused by
Right.
men. You know what I
Right.
mean? I don't
Right.
know. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it is though. I just don't know. Without evidence, I feel like that's a big stretch, but I'm curious. The why drives me, and I've talked about this a million times before that, I'm a survivor of a s- child abuse situation from when I was younger. And I know that stuff like that sticks with you. So could it be that these people cast their aggressor onto these men and they're just taking it out over and over again? I don't know. I can understand the connections of why somebody could want to do that if they didn't get through their trauma in a healthy way and be open about it and take all the power out of
Sure.
that traumatic situation, um but I don't know. I just don't know because there are so many questions. And if this is real, like whoever this is, whether it's one person, a bunch of people, whatever, it is the most genius. And it makes me nervous always saying that like this just because if it is real, but it is the most genius plan ever, ever.
Genius doesn't necessarily mean positive or
No,
good.
right, right. But it is genius
Yeah.
because they're doing it in a way that they know all evidence gets flawed and messed up. They know maybe they don't know this, but police don't go through any training. They go through days and hours worth of gunshot wound training and trauma response training and all they need more trauma response training. But they go through hours of this research training and management. You know how much water based evidence they go through training? None. So cops get to a body and most time have no idea what to do with it
Jeez.
when it's in the water. They
Hmm.
don't test for GHB. They don't test the soft tissues and dissect like random body parts to see if it's damaged. They don't do any of that. Crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let me know what you guys think. And interesting, right?
Very.
Well, hello, everybody. How are you all doing? I hope everyone made it through our premiere to live. I, I, we wanted to be able to talk about Riley Strain and Smiley Face. So the only way I knew to do it was to do both shows. Hopefully it made sense to everyone. And you guys were able to get from one to the other. Can you guys hear? Yeah. Yeah, I'm showing good on my side. Everything's hooked up unlike last time.
Yeah.
I think we are good. Good. Yes. Testing. Microphone check. 1, 2. All right. So as everyone comes over here from the second premiere, we will get through the intro. So welcome everybody to the True Crime Talk Show, brought to you by Thought Riot Podcast. My name is Brendan.
And I'm Malia. Welcome to the show.
Yes, welcome to the show. And you can find us on every social media platform, every single one of them, all of them. We are on them all. And we are / Thought Riot Podcast spelled all the way out, / Thought Riot Podcast spelled all the way out on all of them, except for Twitter, aka X. We are / Thought Riot Pod. But we are on every podcast platform too, internationally, all of them, every single one of them, everything from Spotify to Apple. We are incorporated around the world. All right. You can find us anywhere on everything under Thought Riot Podcast or the True Crime Talk Show. So come hang out, come leave a comment, come rate our show, and yeah, we will get into it. So let's talk about Riley Strain first before we get into Smiley Face, just because I want to be understanding in how awful of a situation this is. The true crime community as a whole gets such a bad rap around taking horrible situations and, turning them into a money pit. That is not true for Thought Riot Podcast. We can talk. It's the same as mainstream media, you guys. We can talk about these things because they're absolutely horrible situations, and people want to learn and understand and think through what happened in these cases, and we can be monetized. But I want to take time right in the beginning when we have a victim. There's no confirmation of a victim, but we have a loss of life, right? We have Riley Strain, who went out that night, I'm sure expecting to be able to wake up in a hotel room bed tomorrow or the next day. And unfortunately, that wake up never came. And he was best friends with his mom, even talked to his mom that night. His parents were tore up, absolutely tore up. You can see it physically,
you can tell
emotionally.
they were close.
Yeah.
You can really tell that they were close.
So here, I should pull up a picture of him. Hold on a second.
Gosh, my hair's coming undone, of course. Like not even 5 minutes in. Yeah, they have been a mess, honestly, and they've held it together really well. They have. They did a really good job holding it together and searching for him. I just wish they could have found him alive. And I like that we're talking about this now because of the breaking news about the autopsy and everything. But yeah, that is Riley Strain. He was 22. He was in Nashville for a fraternity
So sad.
little vacation. I forget what it was. What was it? It was their formal, right? It was their formal that they do annually, I think.
Yeah.
Delta Chi fraternity, and he went to Missouri State University. He was literally a senior about to graduate, and I don't know if he was going to do continuing ed or go about his life, I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure. I know his what's incredible is a priest, I think it's a priest, offered to pay for his entire funeral so that his family has to pay nothing.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
He
that's really
did an
nice.
he did an interview and he said, "I just do random acts of kindness and, if I'm called to help, I help," and he is paying for Riley's whole funeral,
Yeah.
which is incredible.
It's really sad looking at pictures of him because, I'm 29 and always will be, but looking back at
Sure.
like ages like this, it's before life even kicks you in the teeth, has so much learning to go through, so much life to live, and knowing he was so close with his mom, and I consider myself close with my mom, so like there's a little bit of connection there where I understand. I just that whole situation sucks. It's a really, really, really sad situation. Whether he overdrank, whether it ends up being there's some connection to somebody else, I have no idea. But the entire situation is horribly, horribly, horribly sad. And, I just want to send as many positive thoughts as I can to his mom. I have no idea what it's like to have a kid, lose a kid, anything in relation to that. So I can't even begin to pretend I
Mhm.
understand, but it's absolutely horrible, absolutely horrible. And yeah, hopefully we'll get more answers as time goes on. What's I expect really big things from Nashville. So, when you look at national statistics around law enforcement and police officers, Nashville traditionally has had pretty good metrics around the management of their crime in downtown. I know you've made multiple statements in the videos saying that, like, Nashville's crime rate is absolutely insane and it's rising or whatever, but statistically they've relatively had it together. So
They have as that's why I didn't realize how bad it was getting down there because, I've been there a lot, a lot. And I've never seen a crime problem the way it is right now.
yeah,
But again, it seems like it's more of a nationwide thing than it is like just a Nashville thing.
sure.
But I wanted to shout out Jill, member for a month. She said, "Best thing I ever paid for." And we appreciate you. We're glad
Oh, that
you
is awesome.
are here with us and support us.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We appreciate you.
So, anyway, yeah, and honestly had a lot of confidence in Nashville's law enforcement. Um, they're on it.
I
Like
I've always felt like they are
I have
too.
always felt like they're on it. So I don't know. This is an odd situation. I am questioning them. Whereas before initially going into this, I trusted them completely. And I'm not saying I distrust them now. I just wonder what's going on. Like, are we not getting the full picture? Like, do they know more than they're telling us? Or are they genuinely not looking at this you know,
Yeah.
like there could be foul play?
I so this isn't the first case in Nashville, you guys. That's something to point out. Any major city that has a river, that has any body of water or anything, has been a major, I guess, theory location when it comes to the smiley face killers. Yeah, I have that. I was gonna pull that up too, where we can go through that because I think that's an important thing to touch on. but multiple people have passed in that waterway, and multiple people have had questionable circumstances around it. So I just hope, I hope that law enforcement pursues this. It seems like, based on all the investigating we've done into the smiley face theory, law enforcement does not want to claim there's a possibility that it could be a killer.
Well, you know what I found really interesting? Now I've seen this channel before, but
Whoa.
however, oh, go ahead. You can do those shout outs and then I'll talk
Yeah.
about this
So
channel.
shout out to St. Michael's Sword, became a YouTube member. Awesome. Always enjoy your conversation in the chat. Super stoked to have you here. And I don't know if I said thank you
We
to
did say
Jill. I
we
know
did
you did. I didn't know
this.
if I stated that though. And then Anti-Hero coming through with another super sticker, $49.99. We appreciate you.
It's
And
incredibly generous. Whoa.
it is. Melinda Cook, keep up the awesome work. We appreciate that. And we just hope that we can keep creating content that's interesting for you guys. That is interesting for you guys. Hopefully, we'll get to a point where we'll get to see real metrics and analytics so we can know a little bit better on what's the interesting interesting topics for you guys. But we're working towards that direction. We got some awesome stuff coming. So yeah, thank you all very much.
So, yes, thank you very much. So, I found this channel a while back and I watch her on and off. I don't typically agree with her, but I always watch content of people I don't agree with. Like, if
Me too. That's my
that's
choice of content.
yeah, me too. Most of the time, it is me too. But it's profiling with Pat Brown. Now, she came out with a video about a week ago before Riley was found, 8 days ago to be specific. And it said something about the smiley face killers. So I
Mhm.
clicked on it and she's like, I have been fighting this theory for a very long
Really?
time. And she's like,
Why?
I think she was literally part of one of
There.
the initial watershed cases that led to this theory. And she
Okay.
sees it as nothing more than a conspiracy theory that was created by these two cops who are extremely
Is this
unethical.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I always want to show people where we can, if
Now she's smart. Like she is well renowned. She has been
yep.
on the news many times. You can see her trailer right here on her channel where
Yeah,
when she was
that's great.
younger, she was on the news a lot as an expert. And she's extremely intelligent, like she knows her stuff.
Sure.
But when it comes to the smiley face killer theory, I didn't agree with her debunking of it. I like I want to know how you can explain the statistics because
In our
I would agree
videos.
with her.
Yeah,
I would
here.
agree with her about the conspiracy theory aspect of this if it weren't for the statistics. That is what sells me that it is a possibility
I
we're
know, me
dealing with
too.
something like that. That we are dealing with some kind of serial killer or a group of serial killers. And it's
Yep. And this is
yeah.
our playlist on the smiley face theory, you guys. I have no idea what's true. This is another one of those theories where I really don't have a for sure opinion. One thing that I do know is that, at least when you're looking at the micro, the singular cases that have been thrown into question in the smiley face theory, there are multiple, you guys, multiple that that need further looked into. And you know that GBH is not on the traditional panel. Like, cops don't just test for it.
Right. Why do you keep calling it GBH? You're confusing
Uh
me.
it so that's a punk band,
Okay.
okay? It's a punk band. Look, I'll prove it. So
You keep saying that, and I'm like, why does he keep saying that?
here. So you guys don't think I'm full of it, okay? There we go. Punk band, all right? So it's just out of habit. I'm sorry. So GHB. GHB is there look, if there's like a perfect serial ender out there, okay? A perfect serial killer out there, there is a perfect drug. That perfect drug is GHB. All right.
Because
It
it's
is
not routinely tested
scentless.
for.
It is tasteless. It gets out of the bloodstream very, 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 very quick, and it is very expensive to test for. Okay, it is
So it's
not.
not routinely tested
It
for.
is not. So when you hear that somebody passed and the cops say that we're going to do an autopsy and we're going to do a full panel, you know what's not on that full panel? GHB. GHB is not on that panel. It is a singular test that needs to be tested for separately.
Well, and it's out of your system so quickly too that
Very
sometimes the
quick.
test won't pick it up.
Yeah.
And I think in the Riley case, it is very possible it will not show up in an autopsy or a toxicology, I mean, or whatever test they do for GHB.
Yeah.
GHB. No, I'm saying GBH.
I gotta take it
You're
off the
killing me.
screen.
Yes, take it off the screen.
So
yeah, so I think it's possible we'll see a clean toxicology. What I still don't have my answers, you guys. So if you watched the premiere and watched what I talked about when it came to Riley's case, I wasn't questioning the pants or the boots yet. The major red flag that I was questioning was where he was found. It's bizarre because they were searching. Now, I'm not speaking on driving miles, land miles. I'm
Sure.
strictly talking water miles. Okay.
Yeah.
I measured from where he fell in under the bridge, or at least that's where we think, and all the way to where he was found. And that was 5.3 miles, not 8 miles. 8 miles is driving distance. Literally, water miles is 5.3 miles. They were searching.
Here, I'll pull it up because it's really important.
32 miles. Yeah,
do
the
you have
pictures.
that
They're on our thing, our editing thing.
on the
What?
I don't know what you're talking about. Edit thing. Like is
Where
it
I make the thumbnails.
Oh. It's
Like
not
you can
in,
read. Oh wait, they're in a folder actually on the
Okay.
desktop.
Okay.
I saw it earlier. Look,
What?
Riley Strain map.
Okay.
It should be in there.
Okay. Gotcha.
Is that them? Oh, that's not the new
Yeah.
edit. That's not the new ones though.
That's okay. Dang, we have so many viewers on other platforms than YouTube. That's interesting.
Right now?
Yeah. Like a lot. That means we're gonna get like insane growth on those other ones.
Oh, good. Hi, everybody on other platforms other than YouTube.
Yeah, it's a lot. I was shocked. I looked down and looked at YouTube and was like, oh, only like 120, and then looked up to the views were at like 180.
So
Okay,
the day before they found Riley, they posted it was in an article that they said they were searching in Ashland City, which is a good ways outside of Nashville. And this is where he was found. Okay, measured on Google Maps. Okay, it was 5.6 miles. I was wrong. 5.6 miles, 5.63.
Okay.
And they said it typically takes 10 days for a body that fell in Nashville to travel to Ashland City. Okay.
Yeah.
Which
This
is
is literally
over
an hour worth of travel.
Right. Over 30 miles away is where Ashland City is. And they said typically in 10 days, that's where a body would end up.
Yep.
So that's where they were searching the dam and all that in Ashland City.
And that's
so
Ashland City's actually half of where like a molecule of water would get. When we did the math, it was 70 miles, and Ashland City's
right.
only
It's about
30.
halfway.
Yeah.
Because probably resistance and all that.
Right.
So in the video, pre-autopsy information, okay, I was looking at this and I was like, so why did he only travel 5.6 miles if typically he should have went 30? And the water level was even higher when he first fell in,
Mm.
which means he should have traveled pretty quickly. Now I know they did lower the water level, but was how far in was that, you guys? I mean, it was several days in.
Look, you guys,
Now
so right here.
14 days he was in the water and only traveled 5.6 miles.
Yeah.
So was he stuck on something or was he still alive? Because you guys, I find it really strange. There is no way this kid's phone and watch
Turn off at the same
turned off
exact
at the
time.
same
Yeah.
exact time when he hits the water. It
Yep.
doesn't happen
Well,
like that.
Well, and also, you guys being a tech expert, Apple Watches are used by divers, okay? So when you look up the basic statistics of an Apple Watch, they're going to tell you what the lowest end of capability is with water resistance. The reason why they do that is so that they're not held liable in a situation where something went wrong and water got in the watch. So you will never hear them say they're waterproof. They're only water resistant, but they're water resistant in a way that is up to military code to be able to dive with. Okay. It is that SP or ST, something like that, 8. And it is one of the highest capabilities of water resistance. It is essentially waterproof. Okay. So imagine if he fell off that bridge, that phone is in his pocket. Okay. And the watch is on his wrist. There is absolutely no way that distance is going to cause both of those to turn off. Absolutely no way, you guys.
Nope, no way.
None.
That was a red flag to me too immediately. And I'm really confused why people were on the news saying, oh, you know, that says when okay, this is what they were saying. Let me get my words straight. Because I want to quote it accurately as I can, but of course I'm going to be paraphrasing. They said essentially that them both turning off at the same time means a catastrophic failure, like falling in the water. But that's not how our technology works anymore. Like all new phones are water resistant. Watches are waterproof. And we also know based on of like what they said in the press conferences that Riley's watch had a separate phone number to his phone, meaning his Apple Watch was not just running off of Bluetooth to his phone, it was running off its own phone number. They're not like, sure, they're connected, but they can run independent of each other. So that just more question marks there. Then why did they both turn off at the same exact time? Now, let's fast forward to what we know now. We know that with the autopsy, and you guys, there's some confusion here because and maybe you guys can clarify in the comments if you've looked a little deeper into this, but I've seen it stated that Riley is missing his jeans, his boots, and his wallet. And that he still had his underwear and his socks on. But then I saw in another news broadcast that he only had on a shirt and a watch, and that was it. So I'm not 100% sure if his undergarments were on and if his socks were on or if they were missing. Not sure. I heard no underwear, but then I also heard yes underwear. So I'm not 100% sure. I hope that we get some clarity on it. But I'll tell you that also doesn't make sense to me. And there's an expert there's a body farm in Tennessee. It's a famous one because it's used a lot. Well, one of the experts from that body farm did an interview and talked about the pants, and I agree with him. It's highly unlikely his jeans. Okay, we're not talking about like some cheapy leggings or khaki pants, or these are jeans. I just don't see them getting ripped off in the river. And people keep talking about this river being fast. Well, I have the charts for it, and it's not very fast. Was it running a little bit faster than normal? Yes. Is it a fast river? Absolutely not. It was only running a tiny bit faster than usual for itself, like what it normally runs, but it's not considered a fast moving river.
Whoa.
By any means. The
I'm
Cumberland River
listening
is
to you.
not
I'm
a
just
fast river.
surprised how many people we have on other platforms. I don't think we've ever had anybody on from Trovo or Rumble like we do tonight. That's awesome. Welcome, guys. Super happy to have you here. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Make sure you catch us on the next one. We don't only cover Idaho 4 topics, even though that is our main case. We are dissecting, like, you know, a very meticulous surgeon going through every single detail. It is the most active. It is the one that most people are interested in, but we cover everything. We cover everything. So welcome. We're super happy to have you here. Hopefully you'll come hang out more. Yeah, this is my normal self.
This is your normal self?
Yeah, someone was just saying that I'm a salesman. I can't help it, but this is just how I normally talk. But it's funny because a lot of people think that. A lot of people think that I got my salesman turned on. This is just me. But this image is so interesting because when we do the raw math says that the water itself will be 70 miles away. Okay. We took the average feet per second times the amount of seconds in a day times 14 days. And that is 70 miles. Okay. Now, is it possible? That with the reduction of the water, let me pull that up because that's really important. Like really important.
Do you have
here.
the flow charts?
Yeah, I have all that. Yep.
Okay.
I do. So hang on.
Because I'm all the flow charts.
I do. I got you. Hang on here. It's really, really important. And it is on our video that we premiered. Give me 1 second here. There we go. Okay. All right. This is the best one right here, you guys. Here, I will, for those people that watch us on the other platforms, that watch the True Crime Talk Show, there is the link to this video. I just posted it in the chat for you. Unfortunately, if you're on another platform, though, you are probably going to have to type it all out. And that link that I just posted, the second link I just posted, is the secondary video we watched of Smiley and looking at the connection. Now, what is this picture here? This is 2 pictures overlaid. Do you want to go over that? What are each lines? Because you did the overlay. What's the thick blue line?
So the thick blue
is the feet per second, right?
So this is layered with the height of, so the thick blue line is how fast the water's moving.
Mm-hmm.
So that one is the wait, hold on.
Yeah.
It's the velocity. It's the velocity. So it's how fast it's going. And then
3.80 feet per second.
And then the thin one is how high the water level was.
Okay. And that's important because you can see the relevance here between how fast the water's going versus the height of the water. And I personally think that's really important because this right here is that night that he goes missing, you guys. Can you see? Yeah, okay, you guys can see the mouse. So this right here is the night
That's
that it
literally
goes
the
missing.
time, 10
Yeah.
p.m.
Oh, that's the exact time.
The
Okay.
exact time,
So
at least that we estimate, you know, based
when
off what we know.
when you look at some of the statements of the people that were searching down there, they stated that the water was high, not insanely high, but it was a higher level than what is average or what is standard. I think it was an extra foot or something like that, or 17 or 18 inches, I think. But when he goes missing here, the water level actually goes up. It goes from about 3.7 up to just under 4.0. And then they start draining it. And they start draining it, I'm assuming, because they're looking for a body, you guys. So all that water is going down, down, down. And the lowest water level that we found was 17 and a half feet, right in the very middle. And you can stand in the water up to 10 feet out. So like, is it really possible that he was caught on something? Because another thing is like in warm water, this wasn't cold water, which would cause
it is kind of cold.
It's
it was
not
in
what
the 50s.
Yeah, that's warmer water. I would say in
it's
comparison,
still pretty cold, but
it's not gonna slow down the rate of gaseous what happens in the body as decomp is going on. And that decomp is known for being able to lift up 50 pounds of weight additional on top of a body. Like, people have been thrown in the water before with things tied to their legs trying to hide bodies, and they've literally lifted that up. So with the water level going down to an unnormal level and the decomp going on in the body, how did he only travel 5 miles? It just doesn't feel like it makes much sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's look, I think that it doesn't make a ton of sense. Now, I do agree that there could be some kind of situation where he was stuck on something, but I think that's why they were lowering the water level so much, is because they were trying to find that. Like, is he stuck on something somewhere? And they were all up and down that river for him to only make it to where he was. Now, when they found him, he was stuck on something. He was stuck on a log. He was face down, stuck on a log. They moved the log and confirmed it was him. Now, there's people working at that place all the time.
Yeah.
So that means he most likely just floated up there. So where was he before that? And that means he was pretty close to the area they had been tearing up searching.
Had passed it probably over 100 times.
If he was there, that's what makes me question, was he even there? I want to know how decomposed was he? And I know that's hard to think about, but I just want to know, does it match the amount of time?
Yeah.
Like, is he at the stage where he would have been in there for 14 days? Or does it look like he's only been in there for a few days or a week?
Yeah, what you're referencing to that we talked about, is this like one of the Smiley face potential? We don't know if this is true. One of the Smiley face victims was the first one, or one of the main or first. Pause it.
I'm trying.
It is Dakota James, and Dakota James was found after 70 days, 24 days unannounced. So when a medical expert looked at the body, they said, hey, he's only been in here for this many days. So there are at least 24 days unaccounted for where he was not in water. So when you look at Riley, how many days does it look like he was in water? So I think that's a great question to ask.
That's what I want to know, because look, the phone and the watch. And look, what do you think about his watch being found on him, but not his wallet and not his phone?
I mean,
like literally just the watch and his shirt is what we know of. Maybe underwear and socks.
I think it's concerning, and I think that they better get a really good tech expert that knows what they're doing.
Okay, but if he was robbed, is there a reason to not take the watch?
Yeah. Yep.
Why? Why would you not take a watch?
Because it's a tracker. It's a tracker and you can't sell it. It is connected in multiple ways to an account. It is not only locked to the person that owns it, but it is locked to the account that it's tied to. Financially,
So our Apple Watch is
password,
harder to break into and reset than a
you
phone?
can't. You can't.
You
No,
literally
no, no.
can't.
It's impossible. Yeah. It's impossible. So there used to be a time where people could steal Apple devices like watches and phones. That time's far gone. That day is no more. If you steal a phone or a watch and you don't have the capabilities of taking it to another country, you are going to get caught. It is impossible. Impossible.
Okay, so his devices would not be what were targeted.
Correct.
Most likely. If
somebody with knowledge would
somebody
know that.
with knowledge and is a thief, and has stolen things before, would realize like, oh, if I steal his phone, his watch, there's nothing I can even do with it.
Yeah.
Now his wallet has not been found. One card was. What else was in his wallet?
Yeah, that one card has me asking so many questions too, because
like, is it 100% confirmed that it's his?
So have you guys been told that you need to carry your cards that have those chips in a metal sleeve, right? So there are these things out there that somebody can walk past you as long as there's no metal interrupting the card and you, and they just scan it and they'll pick up that card's information and they now have your card information. Okay. Those metal sleeves, metal wallets, lined purses, stop that stuff. All right. So when it comes down to a card, if you have the right technology, and I don't know if police have this technology, you guys, I don't know if they do. Feds do. Okay. The feds do. But the range that it can pick these up is so small. It's like 5 to 10 feet. Okay. So you would have to have this thing on scanning and hope that something with that chip would be in 5 to 10 feet without anything blocking the sensors from picking up that chip. All right. I don't think local PDs have this. They are usually 2 decades behind in technology, at least. But you could. So having that card thrown out makes me wonder how knowledgeable could abductors have been in this information. Did he have any other cards in his wallet that had chips in them?
Yeah, I'm wondering the same thing. I'm really curious what all was in his wallet, if anybody knows that information.
Yeah, they haven't found it yet.
I know, but like, does his family know what he like what bank accounts does he have? What kind of credit cards does he have? Like, I'm curious if they've even looked into that, because one thing that bothers me is that we have some red flags of foul play. Not saying that it is foul play, but there's some red flags that I feel like there's a possibility for it. But the cops keep saying no foul play, no matter what. So it's like, are they checking these things just to be sure?
Yeah.
Are they?
Because the scope of the investigation changes at that point, and now they are held liable to finding a suspect. So cops love to keep it under wraps if they're looking for a potential ender. Now, what's interesting and what I support their family for is I love, I absolutely love that the parents are not taking what law enforcement is saying at face value. Not because I'm anti-law enforcement. I support our boys in blue. I would do anything to help them out within reason. I think that they deserve recognition. I think that police officers deserve respect. I think that their job is very hard, and it is very easy for someone like myself or anybody to look at a cop's job and be like, cops can't be trusted. No. Okay, cops are going out there every single day and putting their life on the line. So we've got to give them some respect, right? But Respect does not mean blind trust. So I love that the
Exactly.
parents are like, hold up, stop. Let's get a second opinion on this. Because I don't know if everything you're saying is what it should be. Local law enforcement don't have top of the line experts ever. Never.
What do you mean?
So they don't have leading experts in their profession.
Uh
Leading experts are expected to make the higher pay scale. Local law enforcement doesn't have that ability. They would have to subcontract someone
that's a
specifically,
good point.
not internally. So, if I am a family in a situation like this and I have the ability to hire an expert that is, top of their profession, I would. And I don't see there being anything wrong with that. I think we should that should be the expectation, right? And why I think that should be the expectation is because science has to be repeated, you guys. Absolutely has to be. Science has to be repeated over and over and over and over and over to make something true, to make something a facty fact. The fact of all the facts, right? Has to be repeatable and has to be proven true over and over and over again. Is one test enough?
Right.
I don't think so. I think the parents did right by getting a second opinion. So, hat off to them.
Mhm. I agree. They did good getting a second opinion. And they did it quickly too, like
Good.
at ASAP. And we know that they said the results turned out to be basically the same as what the original medical
Which is
examiner
awesome.
found, but they got to test deeper into some things. And they're not coming out with a statement right now. They're waiting till his funeral this upcoming weekend, and then they said next week that they'll come out with some things that they've learned. But yeah, they got to test deeper into some different things, so that's a good thing.
It
Hopefully that
is.
means GHB and other things, but I hope they already did that.
I
um
hope. I hope they did
the
too.
police did say they reviewed all footage from the bars and said they saw no evidence of him being drugged. However, we did hear about that person that went
That's a
on
big deal, man.
The Pascal show, saying that essentially they were a manager who quit and said that drugging is something that's common in that bar and that even employees have done it.
Uh,
Possibly.
so that's not a small crime.
No, that's a huge crime.
Massive.
Drugging somebody
Like,
is a giant crime.
massive.
Like
It's
one of
not
the
funny.
a
It's not
horrible thing.
cool. It's not anything. And I am blown away to hear that manager said that she has heard that people that work in that bar have done it.
Apparently, it's also a
What?
rumor going around
Why are
the
they not arrested?
So there's two major universities in downtown Nashville, and that is Vanderbilt and Belmont. And apparently, among those two colleges, it is also known that bar you can get drugged. Downtown Nashville, you can get drugged.
That's right. They stay away from that
They
bar.
stay away
Like,
from that
oh
bar.
my gosh. Though that
Specifically,
manager, like, look, you guys, I've been a people manager before. In my opinion, that person was probably right to quit and step away from that area because, two, what should have happened is a criminal investigation that should have started with that manager as soon as they knew and or heard that maybe somebody was drugging people. They should have brought cops in there to get that fixed. That's not okay. That is not okay. That hurts so many different levels. Not only are you creating victims and you're harming people physically, emotionally, they're going to have trauma for who knows how long. You are hurting the commerce of the city, which cops are there to protect. You are harming that bar. There's nothing good that comes out of that. So I'm kind of blown away that person felt confident enough to come out and be like, oh yeah, we're known for being the drugging bar, and I have heard that our own employees have done it. Uh, excuse me?
What could be the
What?
purpose for drugging people though as an employee of a bar?
Someone made you mad and you're like, I'm going to get you back. But that would mean that you went out of your way to purchase a chemical that's used for drugging. GHB is used for a party drug, okay? It it's been around for a long time. It is used as a party drug, but the dosages are very different. And when you're adding alcohol involved, it is way, 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 way different.
Hmm.
Way different.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, like, why, if Riley was drugged, for what reason was he drugged? And we know with the smiley face theory, okay, that's like the MO of that theory is that they're at a bar, they get drugged, and then they get picked up and things happen to them, and then they're dumped and they have no wounds. They appear
Well,
perfect.
most. Some
Most.
of them have very strange wounds that why they were considered an accidental drowning, I have no idea. It absolutely blows me out of the water why. I don't understand it. There
So,
are people that have knots and holes on the back of their head, and they claim it's an accidental drowning.
hmm.
You know, there are potential smiley face victims out there. One of them is seen walking into a bar and there's a camera on both exits and then never seen again. Never seen walking out of that bar.
Wow.
So, okay, that sounds like, ooh, ghosty. Where'd this person go? Did they just up and disappear? Or could that situation have been connected with somebody inside that bar working and that footage is just gone?
See, that's what I'm
You
thinking.
know?
Like, is if this theory is at all, if there's any substance to it, are these people or person working at the bar? Are they finding a bar and working at it?
I think it's worth going into, like, what the theories are out there. There's a few working theories. Most of the theories, though, talk specifically about who it is, right? People have claimed, oh, it's a man and woman, husband and wife, killer couple. That's statistically what it's most likely to be. Then there is a second one where, like I said, it is all women that are doing this and taking advantage of these men. And that I think is brought upon by, our society and the fact that it's these primed age men and that interesting, I guess. And the other theory is that these are sociopaths and psychopaths that have turned to um the dark web to watch red rooms, to watch torture videos and things of those nature, and they found each other online and they you know became a single unit, a sociopath psychopath bond between people.
So what could the smiley face theory actually be a situation where they drug young men at bars, take them, torture them in like ways that don't leave a ton of
Yes,
damage,
absolutely.
like
That's real.
like
Yep.
waterboarding,
Yep.
something like that, or
Yep.
the strange wounds, and then throw them in a river and say it was an accidental drowning.
Yep, yep, absolutely, absolutely. And just remember, all it takes is one person to get on the dark web, look for people that have the same type of interests that they do, and then they just tell them like, "Hey, I'll show you one of my red videos and I'll teach you how to do it without getting caught." And I've got to tell you, you guys, and if Smiley Face is real and Smiley Face are watching this, it always makes me feel weird talking about this because I think somebody at Smiley Face would be like, get something from it. But Whoever came up with this, it is an absolutely genius way of being a serial ender. And the reason why it's genius is because they found all the major flaws in law enforcement and are exploiting those flaws to use to their benefit of filling a need that they have of ending a life. Okay. Um, and it's absolutely genius. The awareness around it is insane. Okay. And here's more evidence around that. So law enforcement's experience and knowledge stops when you hit water. They are not trained on water crime because the difference between a water crime scene and a regular crime scene is like, I forget what it was. I think it was 1 point something percent of crimes and crime scenes end up in water. Plus, water moves. There's a whole bunch of other things that come with it. So when law enforcement, local law enforcement, that feet are in the street every day, you know, hitting the beat, um, get to a water crime scene like finding Riley Strain, they don't know what to do. They have no idea.
It destroys a lot of evidence.
Destroys it. They also, what? You don't tape it off. You don't tell boats 50 feet back. I mean, they don't know what to do. All they know is to pull the body out, which is already tainting the crime scene. And if the smiley face theory is real, then I'm assuming that has been thought of. And again, goes back to the genius level creation. But is it a real group of people and or person, or is it the subjective mind of somebody who sees these statistics that don't make a lot of sense? So men drowning to women is like over 25-1. How is that possible? Has our society built an expectation that make men feel confident to go walk alone in the middle of the night and, you know, want to urinate in water drunk and fall over and they cause their own situation, whereas women don't, because women have been trained socially to partner up with people? Or is it possible there really is a gang of people like that video on our premiere?
That's the explanation that the profiler
Oh, no way.
that she profiling with
Because I
Pat
didn't even
Brown,
watch that.
that really what's happening here with men is that they're drunk. They are walking to the edge of a body of water and peeing in it and basically tripping and falling and dying. I mean, that's kind of this situation we're going to talk about right now that Brendan just pulled up.
Well, they already saw it on the premiere.
And if you didn't, this is what we're talking about. Brendan is posting the link. Can you share the picture?
Yeah, I can share it.
So what, this guy's name is Josh, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what city was this in? Boston?
Celtics. So Boston. Yep.
Yep. So he went to a Celtics game and he went and peed. Right, he went and peed on the edge of the water.
He was parked in a law enforcement parking lot area that is by the Celtics arena.
Yeah.
And parked there and walked a few blocks to the arena, watched the game, and was leaving with friends. And he explained the Celtics stopped serving alcohol at the third quarter, or at the beginning of the third quarter, maybe. So right after half, I don't know. But he was tested, his alcohol, and he wasn't drunk. Okay. Barely, it was under legal driving limit. Well, he walked to his car with his buddies. He was with 3 buddies. He said, "Hey, I'm going to go take a leak." His buddy said he was gone like 15 minutes. All right. He walked to the river and he went to go. He doesn't remember anything else. He walked to the river. All right. And that's all he remembers. And then this kid right here, and I'll play that little clip of the news so everyone can get caught up. But this kid right here heard something, a yelling, someone saying drown something. And this kid runs to the noise as fast as he can and sees this man right here, you guys, this man in the water with this kid right here. If you guys haven't watched this premiere, you really should watch it. It is so interesting, the 5 to 10 minutes that we copied in here of the Bad Brain podcast. But when this kid ran up, he had to run and jump in the water and pull him out. Why was this man in the water with him?
Right.
Why was this man not pulling him out?
Right. He was out in the water too, like what, 10 to 15 feet out in the water.
Yep.
And the kid was face down.
Face down in the water.
And
with
that
this
guy's
man in there
holding
with
on
him.
to him.
Well, they don't. Everything was moving so fast. They don't remember like the exact details of that guy holding him down. That this kid, because he's good faith, was trying to help, assumed this guy was trying to pull him out. But then why wasn't he pulling him out? Like, he wasn't actively pulling him out.
Right.
He's not even there helping. Like, you know what I mean?
He's just literally sitting there watching and then takes off, and nobody knows who this guy is.
Exactly. He leaves. So as soon as they get this far, right? One, his face is pointed down with this camera right here, which again makes me feel like he's trying to cover his face or whatever. But when he hears
he's
sirens,
wearing glasses at night that look like sunglasses or something too.
When he hears sirens, he leaves. There is no police statement made by this man. So this man was in the water with him, leaves before cops get there, and no one knows who he is. Was he in there helping him?
Or was he drowning him?
Exactly. Here, I'll play this real quick, you guys, so you can see.
Yeah. And there's a podcast where the guy who actually almost drowned and was saved, he did a podcast talking about it. And the podcast literally says possible like survivor of smiley face killers.
It's in the link that I shared. I put that episode in the description. Yeah, here you go, guys.
For a young man from Swampscott, the 18-year-old jumping into action, rescuing an unconscious man from nearly drowning not far from the garden. NBC 10's Malcolm Johnson spoke to the man and his father tonight.
I want to paint a picture of where this rescue took place. We're just outside of TD Garden, and this is where Finn Connor helped save a man's life after hearing screams for help coming from the water just across the street. At last night's Celtics game, set Swampscott father and son Ryan and Finn Connor.
Tatum was going crazy.
Yeah, close to 40, I think.
Yeah, close to.
Joyfully walking to their car parked in Charlestown following a Celtics win, Finn heard a shout.
The word drowning?
He couldn't turn back from.
I didn't hear the call out. Finn sort of looked at me funny and then ran.
Finn ran to the locks next to the state police barracks to find one man in the water and another trying to save him.
And I run down the bank, get in the water, and try to get out to them. They're maybe 5 or 10 feet offshore.
That's when Finn helped bring the unconscious man to shore, his father helping to pull him up.
So I get out there, I grab his arm like this, and I'm trying to support him from on his back, and I sort of carry and pick him up towards the shores.
The guy had one ear that looked partially ripped off, and he was bleeding from the other ear, and he had a softball-sized welt starting to develop on his forehead.
The man lying on the ground in that photo was in bad shape, but still breathing. Once they were able to get him here on shore, EMTs were already racing down that road right here to the scene.
By the time that he's really a little bit more aware of where he is, the EMTs are coming down the bank to help us.
You can see the red ambulance lights in the picture as Finn puts his shoes on following the rescue.
It was just sort of like an instinct. I wasn't really feeling like much.
Not feeling much in the moment, but a feeling this father and son won't soon forget.
Well, I'm quite proud of him. He instinct took over and he ran to help, which is a great sign. We're super proud of him.
It feels good to help people like that,
Malcolm.
That's pay attention. And there you see the shoulder injury. He also
He is so messed up from just tripping and falling in water, you guys. Like, his ears are bleeding.
Well,
One of his ears is almost ripped off. He has wounds on the back of his head
well, he has
and the
wounds on
front.
all sides of him. That's a really important detail when you're looking into this, because if you trip and fall, you do not fall on all sides.
Well, obviously, unless you're, I mean,
Right,
unless you're
it's
like,
obvious.
unless you're rolling.
You don't. What? I
Fall and are rolling.
do you fall like that?
No,
When you trip and fall, do you roll?
not really. No, unless you're on some kind of incline. I don't
It
know.
reminds me of that one. Who's that? What's that one actress that's in the singing movie?
What?
What's
Why are
her
you doing
name?
this?
Fat Amy?
Yeah.
Okay. What's that one
Oh,
where she
yeah.
rolls? She's like, I don't remember what it is, but that's what it reminds me of. Like, you fall and you just roll.
On purpose.
Right. But anyway, so if he were to trip and fall, he either slipped backwards and hit his head, or went forward and hit his head. He has damage on all sides of him, and you can actually see it here on his shoulder. He has some damage right here. He has a giant lump on the back of his head. He has damage on it. Both ears were bleeding. One of them was
And his
almost ripped
forehead.
off, and his forehead.
Like, how does that
Correct.
happen by just going to take a pee and tripping and falling in water?
And this man was already in the water with him.
The guy in the background, yep.
And he if you look at the angle of him looking down, his angle is looking down too far.
Yeah, he's not even looking at
So,
the victim.
it's like he's trying to
the
cover-
kid that drowned.
It's like he's trying to cover his face from that camera right
Yeah.
there too, you know?
Yeah, he is looking too far down.
And then he books it. He leaves out of there before cops get there.
yeah, it's sketchy. And
It's
this kid,
sketchy.
he lives, okay, and he goes on to do a podcast, and that's what we were talking about, where he talks about this whole situation, and he does think that this guy tried to kill him.
Yeah. He thinks it's very possible that that
What do you
this
know?
guy killed him.
Or tried
Tried.
tried to kill him.
Yeah, this is him right here, you guys. This is the kid.
The one in the white.
Yep.
He's on the thumbnail.
Yeah. Very interesting. And it adds to that theory, because one of the theories I've heard out
It
there
doesn't
around
perfectly
Smiley.
fit Smiley, though. Not perfectly. He wasn't highly intoxicated and drugged, and
Yeah, it could
he
have
had a
just been
lot of
spur of the
damage.
moment.
He had a lot of damage to him, whereas not
Some
all
have,
not
though.
all do.
Some have. He's it's not that they've never had damage. Some have had damage to them, like, hits in the front of the head, back of the head. I've even heard of like soft tissue damage around ankles and wrists and things like that. But the water and the swelling, that makes it hard to see once the body starts deteriorating and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, because another theory out there says that these people have an obsession with water. Like, there's this, oh man, I forget what it's called. There's some kind of sexual element to the water
What?
and control and whatever. And there was an expert talking about that. There's a name for it. And if this is real, they most likely get off by using the water. Like, the water is sacred in a way.
Okay.
Interesting, right?
That is interesting.
And I have no idea if this is real. I know we've covered this a few times. I know that we talked about Austin, Texas. I know that I'm mixing my cases. I know that we've talked about Chicago a little bit, which is a major one. Philadelphia is a major one. Yeah. But it's interesting. It's interesting for sure.
It is.
And yes, when he went to the hospital, they tested him. They did not test for GHB, because again, that's not on a standard panel. It takes an extra type of testing. And They didn't test for that. They just said there were no drugs in his system and he was not drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Weird, right?
Mm-hmm. It was weird. The whole situation's really odd. It makes me wonder, like, how this guy picked him as a target, if it literally was just spur of the moment, or if he was stalking him. If they even, because I bet you they didn't even look into it, because
They didn't.
they didn't at all.
No.
Is from what he
The
said.
cops
So-
automatically thought that he hurt himself, and they didn't have any evidence to go on. They asked for video. They didn't have video of that area. That was the one area there was no video coverage.
Oh man.
The one area there was no video coverage.
So did that guy know?
How convenient, right?
Yeah. Did
Yep.
he know?
I don't know. I don't know. Could that guy be waiting there for the right person?
So what would be a way you would figure out something like that? Like, how do you figure out that there's no cameras pointing to one specific
you look.
spot?
You look. You take time. Look, it looked like there was a bridge right there. I'm sure it's not uncommon for somebody to go stand out in the middle of that bridge and just enjoy the water. Water's nice to look at. I think most people enjoy that. I do. I could get a chair and sit there for hours, just looking out at the water. I'm obsessed with water. But you sit there and you look for cameras.
Okay. Yeah.
Cameras that
is there
are
a way to
worth
find
a
out
dang
online?
are visible.
Is there a way to find out online?
No.
Not at all.
I mean, you still need to look, because there are a mix of public cameras, private cameras, police cameras, city cameras. Like, you've got to know. There's not like a site you can go to and say, hey,
Well, I know that.
www.whereareallthecameras.com, but that would be interesting. But yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if there was like public, like where I meant public, because obviously you don't know where private cameras are.
Right.
But when you're in an area like that, where there's like a police parking lot and a stadium and things like that, like, I don't know. I just thought, is there a way you can see where all those cameras are, like the public ones?
I don't know.
But you're saying you literally have to go scout it out in person to really know.
I mean, that's what I would do. I'm giving my experience based on, my past troublemaker self. And yes, there is nothing better than visual. Anybody that's looking for like real safety, okay, hidden cameras are where it's at. 100%. I am all about my hidden cameras, because 99.9% of people that have cameras do not use hidden cameras. People act very different when you have hidden cameras, or they think there are no cameras, but you're not going to just be walking down the street and people are going to have random hidden cameras just on the street looking at people.
They put that marker way down further.
Yes, they did.
That's not the address. That's not the address they gave.
Yeah, you got to tell people what you're talking about, though.
So, on the News Nation broadcast where they brought on the family friend that talked about the autopsy results, which was, it's called Riley Strain Body Found with No Pants, Wallet, or Boots, Vargas Report. It's on the News Nation YouTube channel, posted a day ago. They put up a map while the family friend is talking. I don't remember his name. Chris Dingman. And they put the marker of where his body was found, like further south and west, like further west, like further down the river by quite a bit. Like at least another mile or two down the river, maybe even a little more. I don't know why, because that is not the address that they gave. It is not. So I'm not sure what's up with that.
So this is what she's
I'm not sure if it's
right
accurate or not. He said some interesting things.
It's up here. It's up here.
That's where the address they gave. Yeah.
Yep, is way up here.
So I'm not sure why they put it there. But even then, the place where they expected to find him was like way over here.
So that episode that we're referencing is in our description. The link is
The
of
Bad
that
Brain
video.
is Bad Brain Pod.
Yeah.
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 We linked it in the description of that video.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yes, that's correct. The
it's-
guy goes to the restroom in the river because he's right by police area and then doesn't remember anything. And the kid said that man was in the river with him.
And that's
with
all
him.
that's all he remembers too. Like 1 minute he's walking to the river to go pee, and the next minute he's getting pulled out of the river and has no idea what happened to him at all, and still doesn't remember. So it's really weird. It's really strange.
Yes.
I think he said he still had his pants buttoned, so he doesn't even know if he even got the chance to like even try to go pee.
Yeah, and his friend said he was away from the car like 10-15 minutes ish. Yeah.
Gosh.
And so he talks about in that podcast that he talked to the kid, and the kid's not sure if he heard drowning. He just heard some kind of yelling or something. The dad did not hear it. The dad did not hear it. And the kid just takes off running towards the sound. And, and he sees that man in the water with him. And interesting. Look, are there people out there that don't want anything to do with cops in that situation? Yeah, it's just uncommon. It is uncommon. I myself can't think of a reason why I would not stay to give my story, because I would be worried that, one, they need information. Two, they're just going to show up at my house anyways. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm some secret hide all my personal information type guy. Like, my information's out there. I'm not worried about it, So it's interesting for sure.
Yep, definitely. So I think
make
we
sure
should
you hit that like button and leave a comment under the video, you guys. I forgot to say that. Sorry. What?
You should pull up this.
Okay. Did you send it an email?
No.
I need an email.
Can you type that in? I would literally just type in the first 3 words and Riley Strain. Oh, there you go. Yep.
Okay. And hang on here.
Just put it on 1.25 speed or something. I think you could probably even fast forward a little bit to get to the expert.
Of foul play at this time, according to the examination here at the riverbank.
The question of what exactly happened to Riley Strain still remains unanswered 6 days after the 21-year-old's body was pulled from the Cumberland River. Thanks for joining us, everyone, here on News Channel 5 Plus and streaming tonight. I'm Rory Johnston.
And I'm Carrie Sharp. The family has ordered a second autopsy as we are still waiting for the final report.
But a new detail led us to a world-renowned expert on body decomposition right here in Tennessee. Nick Barris has the story.
A friend of Riley Strain's family says that they ordered a second autopsy, which reached the same basic conclusions as Metro's. But he says the Strain family also has questions about the condition of Riley's body when it was pulled from the river. A dock worker spotted the body downriver from downtown Nashville, where Riley was last seen. Police Chief John Drake confirmed the identity.
Mr. Strain still had the shirt on that he was wearing, still had the watch.
But News Channel 5 has learned Riley's body was found without his jeans or cowboy boots. Riley certainly was fully clothed in the security video the night he disappeared. But when he was pulled from the river 2 weeks later, from the waist down, only his boxer shorts and socks remained.
It is unusual. Normally, if you fall in the river, it's very difficult to get your pants off.
Yeah.
Dr. Bill Bass, now retired, is the founder of the University of Tennessee's famed Body Farm and one of the foremost experts on body decomposition in the world. We asked him about the missing pants and boots. Dr. Bass says it's possible, but unlikely they just came off in the river current.
No, they would not come off by themselves.
Dr. Bass says debris could have snagged the clothing or...
Oh, I would say that somebody took them off. If you do research on this, which is very difficult because you got to kill a person to do it, but it's difficult to get your pants off. It's difficult when you're alive to get your pants off.
We did speak with Riley's stepdad,
When you're
Chris, who
wet in
says
the
he does
water.
not right now want to comment on the Friends interview because the family is preparing for Riley's funeral on Friday. But he did say that they will have, quote, big things to share, unquote, next week. Nick Barris, News Channel 5.
Nick, thank you. Investigators are still
Press play. What was she? What did she say?
awaiting toxicology results from.
Still waiting toxicology
Okay.
results.
But yeah, I
That's
thought
a
that
big
was
deal.
that was a big deal because that body farm is famed and they do a lot of different testing there, like a lot. And for him to come out and be like, yeah, somebody probably took them off. Like
Yeah.
they didn't come off on their own.
Right.
I think that's a big deal. Now, one suggestion that Pat Brown gave from the YouTube channel, profiling of Pat Brown, is could he have passed out on the sidewalk and been robbed? Like his jeans and his boots and stuff, like it was taken from him by a homeless person, and then because like he was wearing like the buckle jeans, which are pretty expensive jeans. His boot brand, I don't know this brand. Maybe you know this brand of boots, but it's a Justin brand. Does anyone
Yeah.
know how much those cost?
Yep, they're not cheap.
Okay, and buckle brand jeans aren't cheap. They usually run about $100 a pair, maybe like 80. At least when I looked at them, and that was a really long time ago, so I assume they cost more now. But they're not cheap at
Yeah,
all.
It's
So
interesting. And it's interesting that he doesn't have any water in his lungs.
right. So I mean, yeah, no water in his lungs. His pants and his boots are gone. Possibly underwear and socks, but again, I am hearing mixed things on that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's interesting. Like, could he have been robbed before getting in the water somehow? Yeah, that's possible. It is definitely possible. I think that they for sure were taken off before he got in the water, regardless.
Yeah,
I do think they were.
I can show you guys the Riley Strain footage. Hang on one second. Just for anybody that hasn't watched a whole bunch on this. Here you go.
Yeah.
But gosh, dude, that hit was so hard.
Yeah, he was really out of it. So think
So hard. Like,
being this out of it, okay, and falling in the water. And like, yeah, you could probably kick your boots off because those would be heavy and hard to swim in. But jeans?
watch that. He literally doesn't move after he hits.
Yeah, I know.
Look. Bam. No movement. Oh.
It takes him a minute.
Yeah, dude.
You know, you know how many times I hung out in downtown Nashville? If I saw somebody like that down there, you better bet your butt I would be asking them if they're okay. Because he was so out of it.
Yeah.
And there was a couple who did ask him if he was okay and made sure he wasn't driving. And that couple has been in contact with his family, but they wish they had done more that night, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is hard.
I mean, everyone's going to look back and wish they did something,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But I don't think there's anybody to blame here unless there is a
Oh yeah, his
suspect or the bar are the only things where I'm like, oh,
this
that
wasn't
bar kicked him out without anybody watching his back. Like,
knowing there was a whole group of other boys there too.
Yep.
So here's what's
Whole
weird
group or not
is
at all.
There
Man.
in this footage, there does seem to be a black car that keeps like being in his general vicinity passing by. And this isn't the only time he's running. So yes, his legs like essentially give out and he collapses, okay? Or he trips or something like that. And that he's running in that clip. Now, none of the other clips I've seen, except for one other he could have possibly been running, but the flash of him running by is so quick, you honestly can't even tell if it's him or not.
Mm-hmm.
But there is one more that his parents say have not been released to the public,
Yep.
and it's closer to the bridge where he
And
disappeared,
it's showing him running.
and he was running.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's really interesting. So some theories, because when you look at it, most of the smiley face potential people was they do have water in the lungs. That's where they get the waterboarding details from. However, that is not the only case. There have been some where there isn't too, and you can actually drown in water without getting water in your lungs. Most of the time, it's only when the water is freezing and your body goes into a shock where, you know what I mean? That have you guys ever jumped in like ice water before where it like I get that feeling in
You
my
get the
throat.
spasm.
Yep.
Well, I get, you know what is interesting?
And it'll spasm close.
I get that spasm just eating. Like I have like whatever that is, mine is overactive and my throat swells shut pretty often, you guys. Like while I'm eating, and it's scary. It's super scary. I'll be honest. It's terrifying because it's like you're choking without actually choking, and your throat is literally just spasming shut, basically. And there's certain things that can trigger it for me, like sour things, like things that are really thick and hard to swallow. You know what I mean? Like if you're just eating peanut butter, like just peanut butter,
Mhm.
things like that. They for whatever reason make me have that spasm.
Hmm.
So I think some people would be more prone to having it happen than others. It kind of depends on the person, probably. But also, yeah, the cold would make sense. One other situation is holding your breath for a long time underwater. Apparently, can make that spasm happen.
Hmm.
But yeah, we should talk about dry drowning because there is a lot of there's a lot of misunderstandings about dry drowning, and what also needs to be understood is that it is also still highly debated. There is no agreed upon
Well, yeah, because
definition.
the word dry drowning needs to be thrown out. There's no such thing.
There
It
is no
there's
such
no
thing.
argument between people. There is no such thing. That's not what happens. There is no dry drowning. It confuses people when that larynx shuts, like closes, that spasm happens. You just asphyxiate yourself,
Right.
is what's going on. And sure, it can happen in water when the water is too cold and your body goes into a spasm where, you know, you get fear, you have the cold, and everything tenses up. You know what I mean? But the whole word of dry drowning needs to be thrown out. What is drowning? Drowning is the process of experiencing respiratory problems from submersion or immersion in water, Dr. Groen says. In other words, to have a drowning event, the person has to go underwater. You don't drown by swallowing water or playing in it. Dr. Groen says there are 3 terms used by medical professionals: fatal drowning, death related to drowning or its complications; non-fatal drowning with injuries, someone who has injuries or complications that don't lead to death; non-fatal drowning without injury, a drowning episode that doesn't cause injury or death. These 3 terms were agreed upon at a 2002 World Congress on drowning and are accepted by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the American Heart Association, the American Red Cross, and many, many others. We don't use the terms near drowning, dry drowning, or secondary drowning. These terms have been coined by the media and are often sensationalized, Dr. Goen says. What is dry drowning? Dry drowning is not an actual medical condition. It's a term that has been used and sensationalized by media to describe when lungs of drowning victims contain no water in about 10 to 20% of autopsies. The reason for this is because the laryngospasm, which is when the body forcefully closes the airways. This can happen when water is attempting to enter the lungs, Dr. Groen says. In fact, the doctor says many drownings are actually dry in the sense that very little water actually enters the lungs. The main problem during a drowning event is lack of oxygen to the brain. If a person is rescued before the brain runs out of oxygen, then the small amount of water in the lungs is absorbed and causes no problems, or it can cause excessive coughing that gets better or worse over the next few hours. The treatment is the same regardless of whether small amounts of water are present or not. She says the cases of dry drowning reported by the media in the past few years weren't due to drowning, but rather other medical issues. Children don't show any symptoms for multiple hours or days and then just die from dry drowning. Wow, that's scary. So it's after a drowning situation. Wow. There was a reported death in 2017, but the child was found to have a heart infection, and the death wasn't related at all to the fact that he was swimming. The child that died in 2018 from a reported dry drowning was actually suffering from aspiration pneumonia because she had water blown into her lungs while playing in the pool. 2 days later, the fluid developed an infection. Wow.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah. That is horrible, but that's pretty much everything of relevance. This is just symptoms.
Yeah, the symptoms: fatigue, vomiting, coughing, fast breathing. Just because it's important to go over that, like if you have a child, because that's super scary, and I didn't realize that. And you're like out, have a day of swimming, and they like inhale some water or something, you should probably just like know the signs.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
the
a child.
coughing. And one thing is, if your kid, like, you can count, like you can just Google like how to count, their respiration rate, and also look at the clavicles, the clavicle bone, like their neck and their ribs. And if it's sucking in and you can see all the bones, that's a sign that they're having trouble. Just so you know.
Wow.
But that's super scary.
Yeah, basically,
super
what they were
scary.
just saying is that what would be dry drowning tends to, where they're saying right here, happen after a drowning event. And that's what these symptoms are: fatigue, vomiting, coughing, fast breath.
Well, and here's the
And
thing
then-
is so Pat Brown gave a statistic saying about 15 to 20% of drowning victims do not have water, or do have water in their lungs, or don't. No, they do not have water in their lungs. So that means like 80% have water in their lungs when they died from drowning.
Yeah, I've heard it's under 10%, but who knows?
So
without
with the whole drowning thing and not having water in his lungs, it is not normal. Like, that is not the norm. He should have water in his lungs theoretically. Though it is possible to not have water in his lungs. I don't know how you would determine that. But one thing I didn't realize is that determining when a medical examiner is looking at a body and trying to determine if it is a drowning or not, there is not like this tell all that they can be like, okay, this person died of drowning, unless they have water in their lungs.
Yeah.
So when they don't have water in their lungs, but the body was found in, this blew my mind. This blew my mind because it immediately makes it subjective, in my opinion. So if the person doesn't have water in their lungs, but were found in the water and is suspected of drowning, it is a process of elimination. So if you cannot figure out another way they died, you just say it was a drowning.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we covered that in one of the smiley face videos of if they're found in water, then it always defaults back to drowning. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, and we also went over like what the benefit is for officers. And another reason why I say if the smiley face is real, literal geniuses in their approach and technique, because of what happens to the evidence, the details, the fact that everything defaults back to the drowning situation. Like, there is no winning almost. And not to mention the fact that the downsides for police, if they say that it could be a homicide, is an acceptance and agreement, essentially, that, okay, well, during a homicide investigation, you look for all these other factors, which could potentially pull in dozens of other people. And could create a serial killer, and then serial killers are managed a very specific way on a federal level where feds come in or included and everything. And it is horrible to deal with from my understanding of when police officers have talked about what a serial investigation is like.
Right.
So it's insane that like everything works in the favor of this theory of Smiley being real. You know what I mean? Interesting.
Yeah. So with the Riley case, my major questions are, why did he not travel the distance that's typical? Why does he not have water in his lungs like what's typical? Why does he not have his clothes on like what's typical of an accidental drowning? These are all questions that I have.
Yeah.
Because there's some serious red flags here. Why did his phone and his watch both turn off at the same exact time?
That is the shadiest to me, being a tech person. That's just
See, because you're
like,
right. You're
when
right.
you
Because
say
everything
same time,
else.
how close of a same time? Because here's the thing. This is what I'm thinking. You cannot turn off your watch and your phone at the same time.
No.
If they both turn off literally within seconds of each other, then somebody else is there.
Right.
One person is hitting this power button, which takes 2 hands. Another person is using the phone's power button, which takes a hand.
Yeah, I agree with you. That is the most suspicious part of all this, because everything else can have an alternate explanation. The no water in the lungs. It is possible to not have water in his lungs from drowning. Getting stuck on something in the water and being overlooked somehow, even though it seems unlikely, it's still totally possible. The clothes, while it's highly unlikely that his jeans came off in the water by themselves, and shoes, it's still possible.
Yeah, it's
The
impossible for him to be turned
the
off.
phone and the watch seem like they had to have happened, and the fact that he's still wearing the watch
What I want to know
is
is
really
why,
interesting to me. So what I'm waiting for now is I need to know the decomp rate. At what
me
point
too.
is he in
I need to know
decomp?
the decomp rate.
How long was he in that water?
And I also need to know what technology expert did they put on this case to get into the back end login of his Find My iPhone and remote on. People forget about that.
Yeah.
That you can remote on, and it will also so if that's ineffective because no battery, because it's broken, because of whatever, it's going to give you the last location. The watch does the same too, I think that's why they have that last location. Well, you have the watch now, and there's I wonder what apps he has on that watch, because there are some apps out there, you guys, that actually record your
I
location
meant to ask you something.
while off.
Yeah, I meant to ask you something. So, say somebody goes missing, okay, and they request
Mine do.
certain background app data, like they requested some things for Riley and they got it from the cell phone carrier, and I think some applications, something like that. Well, without having his phone, is there a way for them to know how, like, exactly all the applications he had on his phone?
Yeah,
So
of course.
how do
What
they
do you
find
mean
it
how?
without his phone? How do they find out all the applications he had on his phone?
I mean, you can either do it the white hat hacker way, right? You hire somebody to look into the background, and you just need enough information that the parents could get you to create an algorithm which would guess what the password is probably, right? And most people use
To his
words,
iCloud, is that what you're saying?
to his iCloud. But then you can get into the iCloud and see everything.
So
That's
what if
not the
his
only thing,
what if
though.
his
You can also
phone
get into applications like Google and Gmail and Yahoo and
So what
all
if he's
kinds.
somebody like me who doesn't plug in his phone every night, so his phone had not backed up in a week, and say he downloaded a dating app and was meeting somebody that night, would you ever even be able to find out without his phone and his phone
Yes.
not being backed up?
Yes. Yes. You can go to the app.
Okay, but they may not know to check that app. What if
You're
he's
right.
gay? What if he downloaded Grindr and was meeting a dude that
Yeah,
night
you're
and
right.
nobody knows because they think he's straight. They
Yeah.
never even think to look at that.
I get it.
So there isn't a way to know unless his phone was backed up.
Yeah. I mean,
Unless you guess.
dude, phones are gonna back up. Most people have backups turned on. Most people have email on their phone. Those all do those things. So you have multiple different ways to find what applications are on a phone. Let me put it this way. There is not a phone out there that you can't figure that out on. So yes, 100% they would know.
Okay.
100%. There is not a phone out there unless the person, the owner of that phone, is conscious and knows what to look for. Because if you don't go to iCloud, which iCloud's not the only one,
You don't have to
also
back
have-
up all apps either,
No.
though.
You don't. So, look, the best thing for people that don't understand technology to separate is stop thinking of technology like things, okay? Our brains automatically associate a thing with an app. So when we say, hey, there could be an app on his phone, a Gmail app, our brains think of that Gmail app as a thing. It's not a thing. It is a made up composition of text, of coding, okay? That coding is what's important. That coding continues to gather data and save additional coding for settings, for background data and applications to cater that application data, that coding to fit your needs. It is marketing 24/7 at all times, and it is catering it to best fit your needs. All that coding it's saving is accessible when you have someone who knows how to access it.
Okay.
So yes, somebody that knows what they're doing would be able to tell you what's on his phone. It's just, are they going to be able to find it out easy by logging into his iCloud where you have access to everything, or is it going to take a while by getting into the applications and coding, finding out what emails he has through his parents? Oh, mom, he always emails you from this email. Okay, great. Now I can target that and get into that and find out what apps are connected to that email. And then once I have one app, then I can go to that app company and target that app, which all apps gather tons of information. And that's going to give you everything on the phone. Every phone, you can find out everything.
Yeah, but the thing is that they're not considering this as a homicide.
You're right.
So that's why I'm asking, like, if they log into his iCloud and it's not, he doesn't have like a certain app backed up, they may not.
You're talking about just an average person.
They wouldn't even look into it. They wouldn't even think, oh, something's missing. Well, no, they have everything. As far as they're concerned, they have everything that's in his phone. They don't think to, oh, would he have downloaded a dating app?
But then
they
what's
don't
the
think
point
like that.
in like tracking this idea?
Because if it was like an actual homicide investigation, like there could be a dating app that he didn't have backed up to his phone, and they may not know is even missing from the data.
Sure. But you don't know what you don't know. Like, the only way to do that is to get somebody to do it. But yes, you can always find it out. Always.
That's why I was asking, like, if they got somebody to find out if there was things that were not in his iCloud, could they do it without his phone?
Yeah, more than likely it's going to be in his iCloud. But yeah. All apps connect.
Okay.
All of them. Like if I had a background access to your iCloud, like there would be evidence of every app that's on your phone always. There's no way not to. Once it's online, it's forever online.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. If you download it from the App Store keeps track of all the apps you've ever had. So they would know like what apps he's at least downloaded before.
Yeah, good call. Yep. So your App Store login, your whatever app play, whatever. It's yeah.
It keeps track of everything you've ever downloaded. Yeah. Yeah. That was a good call. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I'm really curious how long they think he was in that water. Really, really curious. But you did get a tech related question, by the way, that I thought was interesting. Go to
What?
Starred.
All right. If someone logs onto your iCloud from a different location than your phone, how would that affect ping activity? It wouldn't. It wouldn't. So your device that you're logging into that iCloud from, that IMEI is attached to the iCloud. So you can access anything on the iCloud, but that IMEI on that device is still a separate device, and iCloud would recognize that. So it would know that it's two separate devices. There's no way to like trick iCloud into thinking it's the same device or anything like that. I hope that answers it. It would show different. You would all of a sudden have a new device on your iCloud associated with your iCloud. But go ahead and hit that like button, you guys. Leave a comment under the video. One thing that we always do, always do, is at the end here of the True Crime Talk Show, we have a members live. It is the Thought Riot podcast, True Crime Talk Show, Think Tank, where we hop in and talk directly with the chat, and we think tank further some of these theories and ideas for the topic that we're talking about. I did just post the Discord. Thought Riot podcast does have a Discord, and it is free and always will be free. And we just get in there and continue the conversation and continue the investigations into any of the topics that we're covering. It's a good time. Even if you want to come in there and just lurk, you're more than welcome to come in there and just lurk if you want, and you don't want to say anything, but you're interested in some of the details or conversations we're having, come lurk. That is our Twitter right there. And hang on. I gotcha. This is what I was looking for right about here.
I really hope that Riley's family gets the answers that they're looking for, though. You know, I haven't actually seen
Members
anybody
link.
debunk the smiley face killer theory well. Like,
no.
so I'd be really curious to see somebody do it with objective evidence. And if anybody knows of somebody who has done that, definitely let me know, because I'm curious about it. Because the statistics for me, they just don't lie.
Yeah,
There's
they don't.
something there. There's something there.
I
don't know
did.
what it is. It could not be a serial killer, but
Listen, I haven't said this in a while, but I need to. I'm obsessed with statistics. Love them. I am 100% of the time that I am awake and probably asleep thinking of statistical probabilities of the things that are in front of my face. Everything from how likely am I to bump into this one thing to, you know, what do I believe this person's expression is representing, to I can't help it, it's just who I am. But statistics tell you a lot. And the bigger the study is, the more people that are in it, the more likely that you're going to get a reliable result from it. So, you know, it's interesting. And yeah, I agree with you. The fact that men are 25-1 more likely to drown in a situation like this doesn't feel very real, authentic, whatever. But could it be? Sure. Maybe it could be. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But it's definitely interesting. So I just posted that members link, you guys. You can join that members, and that opens you up to a whole bunch of new. Sorry, wrong one. That opens you up to a whole bunch of new content, all of the think tank videos that did I do it again? All the think tank videos, yeah, that
What, you
we
just
do
posted
at the end
same
of the
link twice.
chats, and it also opens you up to some specific videos that weren't algorithm friendly, like Elliot Rogers, and the comparison between Brian Koberger and Elliot Rogers. That's an interesting video for sure. But if you would like to join, come hang out and join. And then the stream, hang on one second here. Let's see. And yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, so good. Okay. Wait. There we go. Okay, sorry.
What's happening?
I don't know what's happening. All right. There we go, you guys. That is the link for the members only. Not members only. We need to rename that for the Thought Riot podcast think tank. The Thought Riot podcast think tank is a good time.
So I'm curious what everyone thinks.
Oh, I didn't
After
even
this.
cover I didn't even cover the polls. Hang on.
Oh yeah, you should bring up the poll because I'm curious what everyone thinks, especially after all of this. Do you think that Riley? Do you think there's foul play in Riley's case, no matter what that means? I'm not going to get too specific, but like, do you think there's foul play? It doesn't have to be Smiley face. It could be, somebody just robbing him. It could be a random thing.
Do you believe the smiley face enders are real in any capacity? 57% of people say
Did you share it?
yes.
No.
What is this one? Why is this? Okay, do you believe that Riley Strain drowned?
Are you sharing it?
No.
Oh, okay.
65% say no. Interesting.
Yeah, and these are on our community tab, guys. There's a lot of votes, on it, like 300. But yeah, those are interesting. So 57% said yes, they believe smiley face killers were real, and how many said no, he didn't drown? 65% of people said he didn't,
Yeah.
and 23 said they didn't know.
Yes, very, very, very interesting for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. And we are
I see
going
a
to
lot of
continue to
yeses.
track the results of that, you guys, and we are going to hop over to the members only.
Yes.
And we want you to come join us if you want. If not, we will see you soon. I haven't got confirmation yet if tomorrow we're going to be watching the release of this week's show. We will let everyone know soon. But thank you all for being here with us in the True Crime Talk Show, brought to you by Thought Riot Podcast. My name's Brendan.
And I'm Malia. Have a good night, everyone. We will see you Sunday. Yeah, Sunday's the next day.
Yes, and remember to let your thoughts riot. Let your thoughts riot. And skateboard, the True Crime Talk Show. Look at that. Oh, yeah. So nice. All right, you guys. We will see you next time. Thought Riot Podcast out.
Have a good weekend.